Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pieware Night School. Tonight's episode, we're going to be covering the overview for the virtual clinic. Hope everyone is having a good night. The virtual clinic was originally introduced back in the 3D virtual 3D back in the early 90s. We did uh, reintroduce that into the version, I believe, 5 or 6. Um, it basically has a set of analyzers that are available to you. Let's pull it up here. We have the collision analyzer, which allows you to identify when you're going to have near misses. We have the continuity analyzer, which is going to show you different, it's going to show you jumps in the animation. So if you, let's say you had a set that you went through and edited, and you have a jump in the animation, that's going to show that information here graphically. We have the direction analyzer. And what that's going to do is it's going to show you hard direction changes where it's going to take into account facing, and you're able to see if that basically looking at the velocity, seeing if it's going to be a difficult change for them to take in a directional change in movement. All right, and the most recent one we added was the off-step grid. So basically, this is going to identify if you have performers that are not on the grid. So when we select the show warning on performers, what that's going to do is it's going to highlight the performers with a triangle. Let's see here. Let's get to this one over here. Set 2. Let's look on show warnings for performers and collisions. I'm going to adjust the collision radius. Right now I have it set to 3 foot. You can adjust that to any size you want in case you want to be a little bit further apart. So let's say if I'm within 5 feet of a person, it's going to identify that change or that area where I'm having that trouble. So now I set my animation. As you see, as they cross through, you're going to have a collision imminent. That's what it's showing here. So right here, it's identifying these performers as problem performers. Now, this is just a warning based on the information that you've set in the settings. So you can adjust those. This is the same for stride size as well. The neat thing about stride size is you can actually have that adjusted based on the performer height. So let's have our stride analyzer here. We have a sliding scale. So assuming that you have not set a height in the cast list for your performers, this is the stride size and information or height information it's going to use. So you can either adjust your default height, the average height of your band, and that's going to show the maximum stride per performer. Or you can adjust your sliding scale. Let's say we have for a 4 foot tall performer, we don't want them to take a larger than 30-inch stride. And then for our 7 foot tall performer, we don't want anybody taking any larger than a 48-inch stride. And you're able to adjust those on the fly and see that change. Okay, so let's go ahead and trigger that. Let's actually have our performers move, passing through. Let's delete my transition here. Alrighty. Now I'm going to select my push. What do we have running here? Performer. reload that file. All right, push. I'm going to mirror. So what that's going to do is it's going to push the opposite line. Seems like I'm having problems with this drill file. One moment, let me restart this. Gotta love technical difficulties. How's everybody's evening tonight? This one's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, so we have more time to cover any other questions that you might have. We have our drill challenge going on right now, so I wanted to give some extra time in case anybody had any questions about writing any maneuvers, anything that you'd like to be using for the drill challenge. And the nice thing about yeah. Thanks, Matt. All right. Let's get this back up here. Go ahead, Greg. Shoot when you're ready. All right. So let's pull our file. All right. So we'll put down our lines here just for an example. 16 at a two-step. On that. Just to have a good pass through, I'm shifting it down one step. All right. Select my push, mirror. Perfect, that's working. Push and mirror. All right. Let's just say we are going to be taking a large stride here. And we have our clinic, our stride analyzer. All right, so we can animate that by simply clicking in this area. Okay. It's showing that they're taking large strides and what area they're taking the large strides in. And so we wanted to create another transition here. Okay. And it's going to automatically, you can have this open while you're designing. And you can pull and push. Okay. And once I accept that, it's now going to show that we have stride issues here. It's going to identify my performers that are exceeding my stride settings in my collision or in my stride setting or stride settings limit here. So these are valuable tools that you can use while you're riding, and it's going to draw your attention to potential problem areas so you can correct them on the fly rather than having to come back and find them on the field. Let's see. All right, Jeff has a question on how do you regroup members for a follow the leader so it works correctly and not the original groupings? Okay. So let's take something for that. Okay. So let's put a couple of groups of performers down. Okay, so let's say I have these two lines and I bring them together into a form. Okay, so this is my new form. And let's say I did not have that group together that way. Let's go back to the secondary so it's split. So here's where I want the followable leader. So right now, it's grouped into two arcs. Okay, so as you can see here, I've got two leaders. My primary leader is always identified with the green dot, and it's going to mirror just like so. But that's not what we want to do. We want to regroup it so it's in one form. So I need to use my knife glue tool. I can simply glue those together. And now this is my leader. The leader will be identified in your grouping order by the green performer. The end of the form is going to be the solid red. And these colors can change however you to whatever colors you'd like, and that is available in the application options. So now that I have my grouping correct, I can select my follow the leader, and then I can follow the leader my entire form. As you can see on the fly, I'm getting stride issues, so it's on identifying those. Okay. All right, and let's see. Kevin, you had questions about reversing grouping order? Or just commenting that you can reverse it on the perfect. All right. Let's see. Dan has a question about the visuals. Problems that he has doing a grand plie, want it done in 6 counts, and it won't let you access the count box. Okay. And he also has a problem with the plie returning later on in the show. And if that's the case, what you need to do is you need to go to count 0, come over to count 0, select all your performers, and go to your visuals editor. Okay, go to your visuals and do a lower body pose and select stand. And what that'll do is it will set a default lower body visual that transfers forward. So when basically what the program does is it will apply a pose move, such as any of these in this list, and then it will automatically go back to whatever the last pose was. And if it cannot see a default pose, which is set on count 0, then it is going to try to repeat this infinitely at a basically a 0.25-second duration. So let's go ahead and create that. Let's see, we need to have a hold. Let's create our hold again. Let's just put everybody in a company front. Got a 2-step. Go ahead and bridge those. Okay. Now we want to have a 6-count grand plie. Type in 6. I'm going to have it ending at 16. So basically, I'm going to have them standing still for 10 counts, and then the last 6 counts, they're going to do the grand plie. Okay. Let's get this out so you can see that. Get out from behind the stands. All right, so we animate. We have our 10 counts of hold and our 6-count grand plie. Dan, I hope that answers your question. If not, we can go over a couple of different options. Jerry's asking, can we lock intervals into the arc? So you can lock intervals. So let us go back here. All right, so let's say we wanted to move this into an arc. So we come in and create our arc. And we're at a two-step interval here, so we can lock the two-step interval right there. Okay, and then let's say I want to align that to center. And then, so now we have a two-step interval arc, two-step interval line, and now everything is two-step as we go. And the one thing that you can or double check with is the fixed interval float tool, which is right here. What that's going to do is it's going to then force the intervals to be the exact same, so a two-step interval. So that's going to cause these outer performers to take a slightly curved path to ensure that they don't come within two steps of the other performers. Jerry, does that answer the question? Looks like we may have some problems seeing the screen. Let me reshare that. Is everybody able to see my screen properly now? Right. Perfect. The square arch that was presented on Brooks' session, you can't get it to populate in the 3D viewer. The square arch. The square arch prop. Let's take a look here. All right. Let's delete these performers. Start fresh again. So the performer prop, structure prop, there's a square arch. I'm going to populate or play that. So here's the default size for the square arch. So we can adjust that. Let's say 3 yards tall, 5 yards wide, and just 1 yard deep. So that would be the square arch. All right. Okay. So, Craig, does that help? Are you able to walk through and get the steps that we just showed? Perfect. Are any other questions for the challenge or anything that we have running? Or any questions about the virtual clinic? We had a recent prop request that we just put in. It's kind of interesting. If those of you who didn't are on version 10 do not know, we do have a RealView asset store now. The new prop was a 3/4 stage or 3/4 ramp. So it looks like so. It's now available in the asset store. So we want to download that. And now it's installed into our assets here. So we can go to our custom prop option, go to 3/4 curve or ramp curved right, and apply that here. And now you have a ramp that goes around a stage. let's say 5 by 5 by 2, more of a size you can work with, and you can apply those together with, let's say, a stage. Say we want to do a cylinder stage, do a shape prop, do a column, let's say 3.5, and 2. Okay, and then we're just going to come stack those right here. So that can be walked on. Okay. Oh, I've got a performer that, let's take that one off. Can be walked on. That's more like it. So now we have a ramp that goes around our stage that we can walk up with. It's something that we just added today. Okay, so yes, you can have performers on the prop in the real view. So what you do is, I've got my two pieces. Let's get my tools down here. Okay, let's pull these apart so we can select them individually. So here's our two pieces. Okay, so I'm going to come in and I'm going to select that this performer prop can be walked on. I want to make sure that this performer prop can be walked on, so when we stack them together, they can kind of interact. They won't collide with each other, they'll just be kind of inside so they can be part of the same piece. So put those together. Okay, so now I want to have a performer walk onto those. So add my performer here. I'm going to select that performer and I'm going to say can walk on performer props. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have him walk. Let's actually get a range of counts here. I'm going to have him walk up the prop. All right, have it walk around the prop and then walk onto the stage. Okay, so now when I animate it, it's going to look like this. Well, maybe need to adjust that a little bit. Let's grab that and adjust our path right quick with our adjuster tool. Okay, our performer here, hit our path, a couple less handles here, tweak it up, down, okay, accept that. So now we should walk up our ramp. If you find that that prop is a little bit small, you can always increase the size or adjust your pathway once more. Let's do that. There we go. Ooh. Let's watch that once more here. All right, he walks around our ramp and up onto our stage. Jerry, does that answer your question? I'm sorry, Jeremy. Jerry, you want to build the prop again? Okay, sure. All right, so let's start square one. Delete those performers. So I have a center stage that I'm going to create. So I'm going to place a performer for my center stage. I have the ramp that I'm going to create. I'm going to place a performer for my ramp. And then I have a single performer that I'm going to have march up. So I'm going to place my single performer. First, I'm going to select my first performer. I'm going to change it into a shape prop for my stage, a column. I'm going to say can be walked on. I'm going to give it a size of 3.5 yards, 3.5 yards, height of 2 yards. Okay, so I have my cylinder stage. Then I'm going to select my custom ramp that I've just downloaded from my asset store. My curved ramp. I want to do 6 yards by 6 yards by 2. I want to be able to be walked on. And here's my stage, or my ramp for my stage. Then I'm going to move them to position to be stacked and accept that. So now I have my stage. Let's say I wanted to rotate the ramp so it is more in the front. So I'm going to change my facing. Let's see, facing front. Let's move it 90 degrees. All right, so that has moved my ramp around. Okay, so then I can come in and create my animation here. Spread my anchors, select my performer. I'm going to create my pathway. Okay, accept my pathway. One thing I did forget is to make sure that it can walk on performer props. So I'm going to come back to count 0, choose to can walk on performer props. And now when I animate this, it should now walk on top of the props. And there we go. Does that help, Jerry? Yes, performer props were added in version 9 because with the increase in prop usage, we needed a much easier way to manipulate them. And now they're able to be used in conjunction with performers. So you can actually have props and performers in the same grouping. So stage color can be changed. We do have solid colors to choose from. And that we do have them all available. So let's say for our column stage, we can go to choose prop image. And we do have solid colors available. So let's say we just wanted a blue stage. You can go ahead and say apply, and it applies that to the blue stage. And the same thing goes for any of your other props. So we wanted that to be a tan ramp. Apply that change. So you can easily drop that on there. The prop tool right now, the only time that you would really want to use that is if you want to be able to see the actual image on the design view. Normally, I recommend using performer props for every other prop piece because it gives much more flexibility. We aren't going to be removing the prop tool from the software, but as you can see, a performer prop in the design view will only give you an outline, whereas the standard prop, I can place, let's get back to count 0. I can place a prop and choose an image. Let's just place this down. So I can actually place an image and it can be seen on the design view here. Primarily what I use the standard prop tool for now is using it to trace different items using any of my drawing tools. So you can import a school logo and trace that school logo, or any other type of image. You can import those and trace those. Okay, Dan wants to go over adding text boxes for each set. Um, Dan, are you on version 10? Okay. So in version 10, we made the production sheet available for all editions, including the basic. Um, I typically suggest actually printing the instructions at the bottom of the chart. So instead of using text boxes, that way you don't actually have any text boxes on the chart itself. It's all in the blank area that you have available. So let's walk through that right quick. All right, so we have our production sheet here. We have our counts, transition, measures. Let's just put in some measure information. Math going for another 8, 6, so 10. 14. Let's do 15. 19. Okay. We can have opening, just insert some information. Okay. My wins note. Let's say my progression note. Okay. Today as well. Okay. Okay. So I've got some information into my production sheet now. So let's go ahead and take a look at our print charts option. I'm going to print charts. And we have all of our information that we can print for instructions. So let's say I want to make sure that I can include my 4 notes that I've entered in my production sheet. Okay. I can do print preview. Okay, so now I have all this information down here at the bottom of the page. For my set 2, I have 2 notes available, my winds note and my guard note. As you can see here, I have all of my information now at the bottom of the chart. And that is automatically populated and updated whenever you adjust the production sheet. That's one way of doing it. Okay. How do you know the notes? General notes, wins. You can name the notes columns. And that is done in application options. I believe, where's our production sheet information? Maybe not. Where did I put that? What is in application options? It's a custom production sheet option. Where's my customize button? Production sheet. Here we go. Customize. So here you can name the columns. So let's say I always want my notes to be woodwinds. 1 woodwinds, or just winds. Let's just put it that way. 2 can be guard. 3 can be percussion. Let's say any auxiliary. And just say visuals. And that is a change that does require you to restart the program. So we'll do that in one moment. Let's go through creating a custom text box template real quick so that you can see the other option. Okay, so if you still want to use text boxes on the field and you want to create a template, so what you're going to do is you're going to open your text box tool. You're going to create the size of the text box that you want. Okay, and then we're going to choose edit. All right. And now we have our editing options here. So what we're going to be able to do is we're going to come in and we're going to fill this with the information that we want to appear in each text box. So let's say I want to say set number, and I want that to be populated with the set number. Then I want to have the page title next, measures, and the measure information, counts, I have the transitional information listed. Now I'm going to then populate it the way I want to have my notes. Let's say I only use notes 1 and 2. Okay, and now that's the way I want it to be. I'm going to choose add. Let's say Power Night School. Okay, now that's listed in our template list. Okay, so here's the first set, or it's set on set 2. I'm going to go ahead and cancel all of that. I'm going to come back to count 0. And I can actually apply text boxes to every set that I have. I'm going to open that. I'm going to select my template I want to use. I'm going to choose use above. This is going to give us the option if we want to add this to all sets available. If I say yes, it's going to do that automatically. And now I can come through and see all of my pages now have my text box. Now, one thing to note is the text boxes do not update if you adjust the text in here automatically. What you'll need to do is you'll need to come back to count 0, go to your text tool, select that text box and choose delete. It's going to ask if you want to delete that text box template. You want to say yes. And then what you'll do is you'll come back in and reapply that text box template. And that will then import all of the new information that you have adjusted in your production sheet. Okay. Does that answer your question, Dan? For the challenge, go ahead and include just some general information that you would send to a client. Okay, and we have Michael, you're asked the question, what happens when you zoom to print? Are you are you wanting to know what happens to the text boxes when you zoom to print? Or are you wanting to know what happens when you print on the bottom of the page? And to keep the production sheet open, you can, when it's out, there's a button up here at the top. Click on that and it's going to pop it into its own window, and you can move it onto a secondary screen if you'd like. Bottom of the page. If you do a zoomed print, that does not adjust the text area at the bottom of the page, so you will still have the same area. Okay. Gary has a question. Is there a way to designate the performer who's a performer prop so it's not counted in the number of positions? At this point in time, no, there is not a way to exclude it from the position count on the console, Gary. Something that is on the list that we'd like to have changed so you can have a count of props and a count of performers. Okay. We have Jeremy asking a question about the stagger tool and sequential push tools. Okay. those text boxes off right quick. Okay, so the sequential push tool has been around since traditional tool was added, and those are primarily used with straight line transitions. So if I select my range of performers, I select my sequential push tool, you can then adjust the stagger or the step off, say one step off. Okay, and that's going to create my straight line transition. Now, this is not going to be effective if I'm using curvilinear forms. Part of that, that was part of the reason that we added the stagger tool. So let's say I wanted to do a stagger to a curved shape. Okay, accept my form, and then I can come into my stagger tool. I'm going to do my step off of 1, have this be my leader, and now it's able to stagger the step off. So you have a sequential step off to go to my curvilinear form. Jeremy, does that kind of give you a little brief overview? Okay, drop off means I'm going to have a one step off, 1 step drop off. So now what it's going to mean is the performers will stop 1 count. It's a staggered stop. A drop off is a staggered stop. So if you see when this is 0, everybody's going to arrive at their end spot at the same exact time. Okay, everybody's arriving at their position at the same time. If I do a drop off, it's going to be a staggered arrival as well. So what it's going to do is my initial performer is going to leave and arrive the first, and then it's going to have a 1 step or 1 count increasing drop off or arrival. Does that answer your question, Jeremy? Perfect. Let's see here if we have anything that we missed here. And let me do a brief restart on the software so you can see the production sheet changes. Were there any other questions that you'd like to cover while we're waiting on this to restart? Group size. Where are you seeing group size, or where are you referencing that, Jerry? All right, let's get the software back up for us. Oh, group size. Okay, on the stagger tool. Group size is something that we've added in version 10.03. You can stagger by group. So let's get the software up here. All right, so let me get a different form. I'm going to get a larger form here. Okay, so I've got 50 people here. I'm going to do a larger transition. Okay, so now I want to stagger by group. So let's say I want I want every 10 performers to go. So let's see, my group size is 10. Staggered step off 1, not 110, just 10. Mm-hmm. 10. There we go. So if I stagger 1 step offs, I'm going to grab, oh, let's actually space that out a little bit more, every 3 steps. So my first 10, my second 10, third 10, fourth section, and fifth section. So you can stagger by group from a form if you're wanting to stagger groups easily. Okay. And let's see here. We have questions about what add-ons I have. I have the Professional installed currently. So we have our selection tools, our grouping tools, our drawing tools. The spiral tool is included in the Professional or purchased separately. These are our editing tools. These are all included in all editions. Then I have my section for the traditional tools, which is included in the Professional or purchased separately. And then I have my sketch functionality here, which was added in version 10. Then I have my annotation tools, and my floor cover tool is an additional plugin that is included in Pro or purchased separately. Okay, and we had a question about Terry asking, can you have everyone use a 22.5 stride size and have everyone arrive at different times? There's not a way of setting the stride size in that. You can set count ranges to or count duration for everybody. So what you can do, let's say I want to do a leader by distance, so that's going to take the largest stride and leave first. This would be the closest way of doing it. Okay, let's do, let's cancel all of this, cancel. Let's say groups of 10 here. All right. I'm going to apply my pattern, so I'm going to have 5 groups. And I can then stagger. I can have a leader per segment or leader by distance. Actually, let's do this number of performers. We're going to need to do it individually here. So have my first segment of 10 performers, leader by distance. And that's going to select the performer to have who has the largest stride to go first. So this is going to be the closest thing that we have to getting there at 22.5-inch steps and arriving. And that'd be the leader by distance. But there is not a way to assign a specific stride size for the stagger. Dan, for a soccer circle, you can actually use the floor covers tool in order to apply that. So let's say I want to go to my grid designer. Oh, wrong one, grid designer. Okay, and go to my floor covers. And you may need to get the correct size. Let's see, 100 by 55, that's pretty close. Okay, so now I can have my soccer field overlaid on top of that. Now I've got a green one that's may not be the best option. You can also use one that is white and gray, but you're able to apply that there and reference it. Any other questions that we have for tonight? Or anything else that you'd like to see covered that you've had questions on? Staging drumline in a complete arc. Okay. Can you give me the intervals that you would like to use for your drum line? And we can do that. I'm going to remove my floor cover, delete these performers, and let's go in and create our new arc as well. Okay, 1.6, 2.5, and 3. Okay, so I'm going to create my arc here. I can click on my mixed interval section. Okay, so I'm going to have 4 snares, a 1.6 interval. I'm going to have 4 tenors at a 2.5. And then I'm going to have 5 bass drums at a 3. Okay, so this is my mixed interval. Okay, I'm going to say okay. And now I have my arc here with my mixed interval. So my drum line is in an arc here that I can adjust. And rotate as I would like. Bobby, does that help with mixed intervals on an arc? That goes the same for any function except the circle. The circle tool cannot have mixed intervals. So, any other questions? We can cover anything that you'd like to see tonight. I'm glad y'all are enjoying these. These are quite fun, and I know they're informational for some who have been playing with the software and just haven't dug into some features. Well, check us out next week. I believe we have our session coming up. Next week is going to be, let's see what time and day we have. Tuesday, we're going to have Kevin Nix on with us. And it'd be great to have him. He's been a customer for a long time, been with us, beta tester. And Michael has a question about finding pricing for add-ons. That can be found on our website, plieware.com/purchase. And that will give you all the options for new purchases as well as plugins. And then we had one last minute question here. Jerry's asking, how do we turn a sketch into performers? So let's walk through that right quick. So I've got my set of performers here. Let me put down a sketch. I'm going to enter sketch mode. And I want to apply those performers to this form here. So I now have my sketch here. Turn off my sketch mode. So what I want to do is I want to apply these performers here, my arc, to this curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my performers. I'm going to click my sketch application tool here, my sketch tool, and it's going to automatically select the sketch that I have on the page. What that's going to do is it's going to evenly space my performers over the entire range of that sketch. Since I have less performers than sketch points, my interval is going to be widened. If I only wanted to apply it directly to sketch points, I can choose this option, and it's going to only apply those to the existing sketch points that I have. I can actually come in and custom match that as well to any of those points. Let's see here. Proximity match. Whoop. There we go. There we go. All right, we then apply that and accept, and then my performers are now in my sketch. My sketch is then removed. And we had questions on graphics cards. We do recommend dedicated graphics cards, such as NVIDIA or Radeon. We do not recommend uh, integrated cards such as Intel. Um, they normally don't have enough oomph to run the real view at this performance that you would want. Is there any other questions that we would like to cover tonight before we sign off? It's been a pleasure having everyone. It was great and very informative. Y'all have a wonderful evening and y'all stay safe, and we will see you on Tuesday. Take care and have a great evening.